Uriia,
Hello.
I am here in Southwest Florida, otherwise known as Pine Island.
Welcome. We are so glad to have you here.
Well, it is good to be here. I appreciate you just taking your time to tell us your story. You got a great story, and all of our viewers would love to hear what your story is and what happened out here. And and then we're going to go over and we're going to get you your beehive at that point, okay?
Awesome.
All right. Well, let's start out with how many years have you been in beekeeping?
Um, Really since 2020. I'm fairly
Hmm.
new. We moved down here to start the farm, and I've really always researched bees, but we were finally in a place to have them. So we bought our first hive and,
Yes.
and started in 2020.
All right. And was that when you got here that you started?
Yes.
Okay.
We moved here August of 20, and whenever your first shipment came out,
Yes.
that is when
The
they
middle of
arrived.
March. The
Yep.
middle of March.
So
Okay.
I think, whoop, I think you guys had actually had a little bit of a cold season, and we were a little bit delayed.
Two
And
years ago.
yeah,
Yes, you are
yeah,
exactly right. And 2 years ago, it was a 2 week delay
it was.
on
And I
that.
was hanging on and hoping they were good up there because you guys had quite the cold
Yes.
snap.
Well, we appreciate your business there.
Of course.
Um, Now, you took that one hive and then you made several more.
Yes. The first hive I had for about a year because that was the recommendation to kind of to wait it out. I did. I made a split, and it was funny. Sometime in between there, it was like people were calling and come check out this, and hey, come over here and look at this,
Yes.
and hey, I have a water meter that has bees in it,
Yes.
and it just like they found me, and since then I got the bee and
Hmm.
ordered more, and
Hmm.
it's been.
And how many hives did you end up with?
We were at about 22.
22 hives.
Yes,
And that was mostly to pollinate here at the farm, am I
it
correct?
was. Yes.
And what kind of crops are you starting to grow out here?
Well, the main crop is designer mangoes.
Hmm.
Bees don't typically pollinate those. However, we are sitting
Hmm.
inside the food forest, which has a collection of other tropical fruits, as well as neighboring farms in the
Yes.
area as well.
Well, very good. Um, and you lost all 22.
Yes.
And was there anything left when you got out here? Because I know the bridge was out.
Right.
And how were you feeling during that time of going over the bridge?
Well, my first trip to the island was not over the bridge. It was actually the kayak trip here.
Ah,
18 miles round trip. It was 3 days after the hurricane. The bridge was gone, and we had to get out here to see what it was like. We kayaked out here, and as you can imagine, it was devastation. I mean,
hmm,
I think the waters must have just receded because you could literally see where it was stacked up on certain areas. And
hmm,
um, some of the beehives were mangled and thrown places,
hmm.
some that we did find, but it was just
It was
wiped
just the
clean.
remnants
Yeah.
at that point.
So, one of the hives up here actually, when we came in from the back of the property
Yes.
and came up to the front, and it was tipped over, and I didn't bring any. I mean, I had my hood, my veil, and I was trying to set them up, but I didn't have smoke or anything, and they were
Hmm.
just going crazy. So there
Yes.
was no. I mean, I remember I'm trying to help you. I was saying
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry,
Hmm.
but I don't think they either moved on or didn't make
Yeah,
it. But that was the
yeah.
only one I saw.
That would probably be when the water recessed,
Yeah.
because they would have left ear- uh, earlier if it had. So I agree with that statement there.
Right.
Um, Now, tell us a little bit about September the 28th. How much of a notice did you have that, you guys were going to be right in the middle of the hurricane?
Um, as Floridians, what can I say? We're prepared down here for the most part for
Hmm.
hurricanes. We live here. We have to assume some risk. We saw it coming. We had an escape route. He was getting everything prepared out here as much as we
Hmm.
could. But then it kind of changed direction and looked like a direct hit. And at that point, we were like, if we leave now, we're going to be driving right through it.
Hmm.
So let's hunker down and hope for the best. I, you know, it wasn't, we knew the hurricane was coming. We all kind of prepare, but you never really know where it's
Hmm.
going to go. Um, I wish I would have been more prepared.
Looking back with the hives, you know, there's that tug of war, taking care of yourself and also
Absolutely.
taking care of your bees.
Hmm.
What would you do differently given the same thing happens again?
Um, Being versed in emergency response and those type of protocols, I definitely have laid out uh, processes for myself
Yes.
in the future. I've thought about different types of structures to which the mounds could be adhered to. I've thought about evacuation routes in order to get them out if it looked like a threatening situation. I'm definitely coming up with an emergency response plan for future hives.
Well, that's a good thing. Sometimes there's just nothing that we can do as beekeepers because as the tidal water came up here,
Right,
you can't get it up high enough,
right.
and and you can't move 20 hives in 30 minutes,
No.
and it might take all day to move those 30 hives.
And I think that was kind of a point we got to was like preparing beforehand if we knew it was coming, the trajectory of it. Maybe we do move them to more inland
Hmm.
a week prior
Hmm.
or something to
But
that
you
regard.
only had a couple of days,
We did.
wasn't it?
I mean, we knew it was going to come. They projected it was going to hit Tampa first, I think, initially.
Yes.
So we knew we were going to get some outer bands, but we didn't know it was going to
Hmm.
be direct. However, you got to assume the worst, right? Like
Yes.
it's coming that close. It's a hurricane, and that sucker was bigger than the whole state of Florida. So
Yes.
we all knew at that point we were in for it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, your preparedness, you got the notice it's coming in, and
Hmm.
it's coming in fast.
Hmm.
And what happened with you and your husband? What were some of the decisions that you had to make at that point? Because you had the farm out here, you live inland.
Right. Of course, our main focus was this. Has been our dream, our goal for 10 plus years. Obviously, he is worried about the trees and he's coming out here and staking them up as much as possible.
Mm,
Afterwards, it was really the sodium content of the water
yep.
and them being affected by that. So, him coming out here and just making sure and rinsing them down and making sure they're propped up and the dirt
Mhm.
is appropriate. I mean, there's just so many different things that we did beforehand, um, but sometimes it's not enough.
Now, I'm glad you brought up the sodium content.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm.
what are some of the challenges that you're facing here on your farm with this tidal wave that came through and it set here for a while?
You know, I wish I would have been here to see exactly what would have happened. Of course, was it the water that affected them? Was it the wind?
Hmm.
We obviously had the hive strapped down, but what is that
Yeah,
going to do
yeah,
with
yeah.
them? Then I only had them on cinder blocks raised up a little bit. So if they had been a little bit higher, there was a pretty safe wind buffer medium at the bottom where it
Hmm.
didn't seem like things that under 3 feet didn't get hit as hard by the wind, but then the water.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so thankfully, this parcel is a little bit higher. Um, North of the island is a little bit higher. So I think just working off your setting and trying to.
So Uriia,
Yes.
with the salt water that has come in, and and what was it for about a 24-hour period or 48 hours?
I think the salt was our major concern afterwards because the flood waters had gotten so high.
Hmm.
Um, the south of the island, I mean, their garages were under.
Yes.
So the settling of it, you could literally see the sodium residue on stuff once the water was gone. Um, and then it was so dry and we didn't have any rain. I would venture to say it might have been a couple weeks that we were kind
Wow.
of in a holding period, just worried that the
Yeah.
sodium was too much for a lot of.
Now with the sodium, the only part that you really had a negative part on is getting it on the leaves of your various crops. Would
Well, the
that be
roots, we were worried
and
about the
roots
roots
and
too.
roots? Okay.
Because of the water level and how long it sat, we were worried about root rot as well.
Yes.
So the sodium, it was a trifecta, wasn't it?
Hmm. All right. So, Uriia, I told you that I was going to bring one hive, but today we're bringing 5. Come on over.
What's up, people? So much.
We couldn't do this if it wasn't for our customers. We asked them, jump behind us. There was people that gave $25. There's people that gave 50, 100, and even 200. And they care about you. And we care about you.
Thank you guys so much. It's so incredible.
Well, we're happy for you. This gets you back on your feet.
Yeah.
And the bees will be here in March to fill these up. All right?
Yeah. Thank
All right.
you so much. Thank you all so much.
Well, very good.
Uriia, what are you feeling, babe?
Oh my gosh, it's just so incredible. It's a mission. The bees are a mission to the world. It's such a bigger calling than just what is here. For all the farmers, for the ecosystem on Pine Island, the bees are a big part of that, and I'm glad to help out in any way I can and be of service.
This was your 10-year dream, you said.
Oh, it's incredible to have this and to see it become what it has. It's definitely like a baby and a dream to us, and we hope that it gives back to everyone as much as it has for us.